is Tuesday, so we're talking books, and I have my favorite with me, Audrey, and we're talking about Hope Deferred by Nora Ezra. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning, Candice. I heard you singing a bit earlier.
Oh.
We should have an audio singing book, yeah?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
That can be a project for 2024. Okay, project for 2024. Now, Hope Deferred.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Nora before you get into the book.
Okay, Nora is a 25-year-old. She works in insurance. She's got a risk and insurance degree from the Great Zimbabwe. And she also runs this platform called Identity Disclosure. And for me, even on this book, I mean, it's so amazing that the young kids, I know we're always saying, yeah, I'm a 2K, I'm a 2K, but there are these other ones. At 25, I wasn't thinking of doing all these important things.
Right.
But there she is. She's doing important things.
I can imagine.
So just big up to you, Nora. Well done.
Absolutely. And of course, now I ask a little bit about her because, so the title of the book is Hope Deferred. But you'll find there's like a little subtitle there that says Finding Healing and Hope After Life Setbacks. Again, 25 is fairly young to already be looking at healing from traumas, healing from setbacks. Because at this point, very few of them have actually managed to pinpoint that ndine trauma yakadai, or this is a trigger for me, or this is a setback for me. So I think it's very remarkable that already she is able to identify some of these things. What is it that she's looking at as we go into Hope Deferred?
All right, so just one other important fact that I should mention. I think us, when we grew up, we did go through trauma, but there were no platforms to talk about it. And also, even looking at our culture, some of these things were not allowed to be spoken about.
Yeah.
So even in her lessons, she's got a point whereby she says we also need to really analyze culture. Otherwise, some of the practices actually dampen and hurt people instead of protecting them. So the way she wrote this book, it's like she's looking at her life from a young age, high school, you know, issues whereby at some point she had to go to a Ndebele speaking school after coming from an English and Shona speaking school, and just navigating that. And then also even the hurt and the issues that you're talking about. 25 is actually old because they would have gone through a whole lot. So one important topic that I thought I should zoom on, you know how we've got people that we think they're in authority in a school setting. It could be the head boy, it could be the scripture union leader, it could be someone with a position. But some of these people are also abusing their positions, yeah? Because there's an example whereby we see a youth leader is going out with someone else. But meanwhile, he's got his supposed girlfriend from church, from God. And then after a couple of months, years, he then comes back and says, sorry, I can't be with you. God told me that so-and-so is actually my spouse to be, you know? Talk about that. I really would want to hear what you think about that.
You know, I think for me, a lot of it is, there's two things involved. There's a placing of, you know, when you're at a certain age, you're hoping to find happiness in somebody else, and we give these people a lot of power over us. So when a situation like that happens, it breaks you, and sometimes you don't even realize just how badly it breaks you until you've gone through a series. For others, at that age, that's probably your first relationship. And the damage that it inflicts sets a pattern of every other relationship that comes afterwards, where you attract a certain kind of being based off your brokenness, but because you don't realize it, you can't even address it. And then the other thing that's involved is also this other character also dealing with their own issues, and feeling like they can only compensate for certain things by behaving in a certain manner, or they can appear a certain way by behaving in a certain manner, not realizing that it's also inflicting damage on somebody else because you're also damaged. So that's that bleeding onto somebody else who has not caused you any harm. So there's all these little double-sided effects that then come into play in our lives that we don't realize until much later on. You're like, oh, that was bad.
Yeah. And you just summed it up nicely. So I went to this seminar and someone said, hope is not a strategy. Yes, I agree from another perspective, it's not a strategy. Yes, you need to act and have a plan and all this. But I mean, from this context, I think in life, we should always know that there's always hope to change your life for a better tomorrow. And even where you don't feel like, you know, when it's hard, you're crying, there's scars, you're bleeding, like you're saying, just defer that hope from the title. hope deferred for use at a later stage. And then the healing will come, the forgiveness will come, and you can actually move on with your life.
So there's a chapter here that I just came across where she says there is grace for every season. And I love how we talk about healing and we talk about having suffered from trauma, but we also tend to forget that, look, it doesn't have to be the story of your life forever. Yes, you've gone through it, but there's, even in those moments of trauma, even in those moments of pain, there was a certain element of grace that was granted to you, in that you could have, and I'm sorry to give this example, but it is a very, very real example. In that moment of your despair, you could have ended your life. But the grace that shone upon you allowed you to live another day, to see that this is something I can actually overcome, to see that this is something that has added a certain element to how I interact with other human beings, how I interact with myself, and taught me lessons. And those lessons themselves are what then you need to get through life, to go through that journey that, you know, of life that is not always going to be rosy. But we don't see that. We see our pain as infinite pain in that moment. We see our grief as infinite grief. We see the trauma as never ending in the space we're going through it, because we feel it's isolated. We feel as though we're isolated.
100%. And I think I like your point in the fact that, you know why everyone keeps on talking about a broken society, a broken whatever. It's because people from childhood go through stuff and then we don't deal with them. And then so the misery perpetuates into the next generation, into the next generation. So I know you're always asking who's reading this book. So I'll tell you, this book, I mean, everyone should read it. Even the young ones, if someone can read it and break it down to them, even the leaders at schools, your scripture union prefects, etc. Parents should also read this book so that they understand what their children are going through. You know, tertiary university, etc. Everyone should read this book so that they know how to deal with the next person. Yes.
I think not even before you even get to dealing with the next person, also dealing with yourself, dealing with the things that you didn't realize. Because, like we're saying, a lot of people are only now starting to awaken to some of the traumas they experienced, especially and a lot of trauma happens in your childhood, where decisions are made for you and nobody ever takes into consideration the impact that it actually has on you. But you're expected to take it in stride and just go. And not everybody understands just how damaging some of these things are. So I think it's, like you said, it is definitely a read for everyone. From understanding ourselves to understanding the people around us, this will definitely give a lot of insight into that. Where do we find it?
Okay, she's based in Gweru, so you can find it at Mambo Press Bookstore and also Innovate Bookstore. It's not yet on Amazon, but she's working on it, so she said. Yes.
All right, I'm being patient. Being patient.
And the price is just $10. Chete, which can
Chete.
just change your life and change the lives of people around you.
Absolutely. I love that you're bringing us authors from all across. It's not just our Harare-based. I mean, Gweru, we talked about Kwekwe Kadoma. I absolutely appreciate that. Thank you for just exposing us to everybody that is doing good work in the literary world around the country, and sometimes even diaspora. You've got a few diaspora
lots
elements
of them,
as well.
yes, in South Africa. The region, we've got Rwanda the other time. Yeah.
Yes. No, much appreciated, Audrey. Now, the book is Hope Deferred, Finding Healing and Hope After Life Setbacks. This is by Nora Ezra. Make sure you grab your copy.
Konapo. Ipapo pa ZTN Prime. DSTV channel 294. The place to be.